All right, let's pick the Big Ten on the heels of that predictions advertisement for the Voice of College Football. So USC minus 35.5. The over/under for this game 59.5. Ethan, your picks.
I'd pick USC to cover, and I'd also hit the over. I do think that they're going to put up a lot of points in this game. If Jade Mailava really is as improved as Lincoln Riley is saying that he is, then he's going to run and throw circles around Missouri State. Like I said, we clarified that they're an FBS team now, but it's their first FBS game ever. They're returning basically all their starters, so essentially they're an FCS team. I see this one getting out of hand really quickly and USC putting up a crooked number on the board.
All right, I would lean. In making predictions, you have a lean, or you're 100% confident, or you'd have no clue. I lean toward USC minus the 35.5, but with Jacoby Lane not being maybe 100%, or having had the injury over the season, maybe he doesn't have maximum impact on this game, and rotating centers that could just muck up the gears a little bit, and USC could win this game 35-0, and that's not a cover for USC, but I would lean 35.5. But my strong play, where I feel very confident, is the under. Like, I don't think Missouri State's going to score anything more than 7. So that means, USC 52, Missouri State 7. That's an under. And I think that the score of the game is going to be in that kind of range. USC 45-7 sounds just about right for me. So I feel solid about the under, because Missouri State's just not going to get much of anything. Maybe a garbage touchdown. And of course, garbage touchdowns mean a lot for, as Brent Musburger was fond of saying, our friends in the desert. So that's where I'm leaning on that game. All right, let's stay in Southern California. Obviously, we hate the Bruins, but they play a really interesting and important game. Utah favored by 6 over UCLA with an over/under of 51.5. Ethan, your picks.
I think I'm taking the under in this game for sure. I just don't see, a Utah offense that struggled a lot last year and is trying to gain its footing again, and a UCLA offense that's playing its first game with Nico Iamaleava. I just don't see those two combining for a shootout. I do think, though, that in terms of who I'm picking for this game, as much as I hate to say it, I think I'm picking UCLA, just because I think that I think that Utah is going to be better this year than they were last year, but I just don't see, I don't feel confident enough that they're going to get off to as great of a start in a game on the road. Granted, the Rose Bowl is not exactly a home field disadvantage, because nobody shows up to these games. But if you're a UCLA fan, you hope that some more people show up, because it's like an actual opponent in this first week, even though students aren't in school yet. But I just see, I don't know. I think it's going to be a close game, and when it comes down to it, Nico Iamaleava, as a true freshman, was in the college football playoff last year. So I just think when it comes down to it being in the clutch, I can see UCLA pulling this one out.
All right. I have Utah money line, but I think UCLA covers the 6. I think it's going to be a close game. I would lean under, but really this is not a game where I would risk betting money. I'm going to make picks, but I'm going to say whether I have strong confidence or no confidence. I'd say this tilts toward the no confidence, because these teams are mysteries, and it's week 1. And part of the wisdom of betting as you go through this is don't bet on everything. Know when to not bet. There are games that you should bet so that you make money, but there are also the games that you don't bet because they're very coin flippy. You don't want to lose money, right? You want to keep your bankroll, so don't get sucked into a trap. A game that's a coin flip and you really are flying blind. don't bet on questionable games that you don't have a feel for. It's part of the art of betting. So Utah UCLA fits into that category. But of course, I'm picking the Utes. I'm picking the Bruins to lose. That's how we do it here on the USC channel at the Voice of College Football. All right, a few games that don't need extended analysis, but just Rutgers minus 15.5 over Ohio, over under 49.5. Ethan.
I think I think I pick Ohio to cover just because I think that, Rutgers was just, such a sad Big Ten program last year. And I think that Ohio is coming off a conference championship season. So I think that they're going to have some confidence and make this a little bit more competitive than people think. But I'm taking the under. I think this is going to be, I don't have confidence in either offense to put up a crooked number. Ohio playing against a superior conference opponent, and then Rutgers just, being Rutgers. So I'm taking the under, but I'm taking Ohio to cover.
I would lean in those two directions, but I don't have a strong opinion there. Before we go to the next one, Jeff Rodriguez, thank you, $10 super chat. And hey, Jeff, just loyal friend, supporter of the show, and he loves those 3-hour shows. But folks, it can't just be Jeff, right? And Adam Lamparello, who is the host of the Rutgers show at the Voice of College Football. Hope you're tuning into his Rutgers program. He's not a regular listener watcher now because he has his Rutgers obligations. So other people are going to need to pick up the slack. It can't just be Jeff and Adam's doing a show, hosting a show at another channel. So if you want 2 hours of Ethan and Matt, 3 hours of Ethan and Matt, hey, folks, help out Jeff. Do some matching donations. Once again, like $150 might seem like, Fort Knox, but it just means 15 people stepping up just like Jeff with a $10 super chat. 15 people donating $10. Then you're spreading the responsibility and you're just contributing $10. Not a king's ransom. Okay. So that's how it works. That's how you can get a second hour of Ethan and Matt when we do our Sunday post game and when we do our upcoming Tuesday football season shows here on the USC channel. So thanks again, Jeff. As we continue on again, and this is kind of lightning round, Ethan. Minnesota minus 17.5 over Buffalo. Another Big Ten versus MAC game. The over/under there 44.5.
I am taking Minnesota to. I'm taking the over. I'm taking Minnesota money line. Sorry, but I think I'm taking the under here.
You're taking Minnesota to cover the 17.5.
Yes, but I'm taking the under.
You're taking the under.
Yeah,
I'm leaning Buffalo and under, but not a strong take. I would not say, hey, you got to bet on this game. All right, here's one where we can go a little deeper because this is an interesting one. This is one of the Thursday primetime games on national television, Nebraska versus Cincinnati, and it's not an on-campus game. This is at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. Nebraska favored by a touchdown, exactly 7, not 7.5. See that, and that half point can be really interesting from a betting standpoint. Nebraska minus 7, the over/under 52.5. Your picks.
I think that Nebraska is going to be better than everybody, everybody's giving them credit for. So I'm taking them to cover the 7. I think the over/under is a tough one because I think it's going to be right around there. I see Nebraska's offense really kind of, making a statement in this game. So I see them putting up a good amount of points, but I don't think, their defense is strong enough that I'm confident that they're going to hold Cincinnati to a super low total. I'm going to take a slight under, but again, just kind of leaning in that direction, not super confident.
I have no clue about the over/under, but I'm not hammering, but I do like Nebraska minus 7. And, if there's line movement such that I can grab Nebraska minus 6.5, see if that line just dips that half point and I can get Nebraska minus 6.5, I'd feel great about Nebraska minus 6.5. But I'll still take Nebraska fairly confidently at minus 7. Scott Satterfield, the head coach of Cincinnati, he's on the hot seat. Like, remember, he used to be at Appalachian State, then he went to Louisville. Like his career trajectory has gone down, down, down. And this is a must-win for Matt Rule and Nebraska. Dana Holgerson coaching Dylan Raiola. You would think that Nebraska comes out of the gate roaring, trying to prove a point. So I really do like Nebraska at 7. I would love Nebraska minus 6.5, but I'm still feel very solid about Nebraska minus 7. All right, another Big Ten MAC cupcake game, Wisconsin minus 17.5 over Miami, Ohio, and the over-under 39.5. So like Wisconsin is not expected to score a ton of points, but also it's not expected to give up any. Ethan.
Yeah, I mean, a really interesting over-under there. I just feel like this is I just don't think I have a ton of trust in Wisconsin being dominant. I don't think this is a game I personally would bet on either direction, but I think if I had to pick, I'd pick Miami to cover, to be completely honest with you, just because I still think Wisconsin's going to win this game, but I just don't, after the way the past few years have gone for the Badgers, I don't really feel super confident in them running away with this one. And then the over-under is real low. Again, I just like, in case Wisconsin is better than I think that they're going to be, I haven't seen them play any football yet. I really wouldn't be confident in taking the under here, but not super confident in the over either, just because it's really a toss-up here for me.
Ethan, totally agree. This is an ambush. This is a trap. Don't do it. Stay away. I totally agree. This game, you stay away. If you don't trust a team, you don't go ahead and bet on that team if you don't trust it. So if you don't have a good feel, stay the heck away. That's what I'm going to be doing with that game. Michigan State minus 20.5 over Western Michigan, over under 49.5. Okay, while you're thinking about it, I'm going to say I'm not going to, it's not a strong, like, I feel awesome about it, but I have a definite lean toward Western Michigan covering the points. We need to see Michigan State prove that it can be really solid, efficient, fluid. Like I got to at least see a game. So I'm not sure I'd put money on this game, but if I had to lean, it would be Western Michigan plus the 20.5.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you, and I think that I'd also lean towards taking the under, just because I don't like 49.5 is quite, that's like a 35-14 game. I don't know. I don't have enough confidence in Michigan State's offense after the way the last few years have gone. So I think I'm taking the under there as well. But again, not a super confident, just a little bit of a lean there for me as well.
All right, Washington Huskies minus 21.5 over Colorado State with an over-under of 53.5. Ethan. Okay. While you make up your mind, I'm gonna stay away. I can easily see Washington blowing the doors off this game, and I can just as easily see Washington struggling in a week 1 situation. Jed Fish, year 2, you would generally think he'll get this thing figured out, but is he going to figure it out in week 1? Like, are you going to see an improved Washington team right away? So I think this is definitely a stay away game. Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. I don't even really have a lean on this one. This is a stay away game for me.
I agree. I mean, I just think it's never a fantastic idea to bet on a team that was in the national championship game, 2 years ago and then was mediocre the year after. You just never know what you're going to get there. It's also the Mountain West, which, like, the Mountain West always seems to kind of bat above its league. And, they're, especially against the Pac-12, which, this is not a Pac-12 team anymore. But some of those Mountain West Pac-12 teams at the end of the Pac-12 were really, really entertaining. I think about, some of the games Fresno State played, a Colorado State game that happened recently. So I just, I'm never confident that any team is, unless we're talking like a really, top 5 team. I'm never really confident in any team blowing out a Mountain West team. So I'd stay away personally.
Michigan and Bryce Underwood minus 34.5 against New Mexico, over under 49.5.
I think this is one where I'm confident in Michigan covering. Actually, no, I'm going to change. I'm going to change my mind. I'm confident in the over, but I'm not quite as confident in Michigan covering, just because I think that you're going to see Michigan dominate this game regardless. I think that there's just too much talent on the roster. It's a freshman's first game though at under center, so I just don't know if I'm super confident that he's gonna throw 6 touchdowns. He's supposed to be the guy. Again, I need to see it first. So and New Mexico again, not an FCS program by any means. I think that they'll come in hoping to compete at least for the first few quarters in this game. So I'd lean the over, not super confidently, and I'd probably take New Mexico to cover.
Yeah, I would not bet money on this game, but I would lean toward New Mexico just because Bryce Underwood, he could be a rock star, and the people in Ann Arbor definitely think he will be. But this is his first rodeo. This is his first game. If he plays a sluggish first quarter, first 20 minutes with a spread this large, I think New Mexico slight lean, but really I'm just going to sit and observe and enjoy that one. Penn State. Many people think that this is the national title favorite. Penn State minus 44.5 against Nevada with an over-under of 56.5. So basically, like the models have, Penn State winning this game like, something close to like 50 to 7, or pretty close to that. Your pick on this?
I think I'm picking Penn State to cover, and I'm also hammering the over on this. I just hyped up a couple of minutes ago. I hyped up the Mountain West, but that stops at Nevada. I just don't think that they're going to be any good. I think it's going to be another bad year for them. And I'm just thinking about USC playing Nevada and it being like a 60-14 game. I think that Penn State is going to be for sure. Penn State this year is going to be for sure better than USC in 2023. I'm not confident in Nevada being any better than they were that year. So I just think it's going to be a massive, massive blowout. I think, you're going to hear the hype train on social media of this is definitely Drew Allar's year to win the Heisman, and it's going to be a massive overreaction because he's going to throw for like 6 touchdowns because Nevada's just that bad. Penn State all the way by a lot for sure.
I would lean Penn State minus the 44.5, but week 1 with that large a spread, like, do I want to just fork up dollars and just feel confident about it? Not quite, because we've seen Penn State make a meal of this kind of game before. Eked past Bowling Green last year. Obviously, Penn State better this year, but still. So I'd lean Penn State for sure against the spread, but would still ultimately stay away from that one. All right, Maryland minus 14.5 against Florida Atlantic, over under 59.5.
I just don't think you want to bet on Maryland at all based on the way the last few years have gone. So I'd stay away from this one as well. But if I'm going to pick, I'd pick Florida Atlantic to cover, and I definitely hammer the under, because even if this is a decisive Maryland win, I don't think it's going to be 40-14. I think it's going to be 21-10, 21-7, something like that. I just don't see any world where this is a high scoring Maryland blowout.
Totally agree with, why trust Maryland, right? I very much agree. So my lean would be to FAU, but I do think that, Maryland's defense has been pretty horrific in recent seasons. And so if Maryland does not cover, it's going to be because FAU scores a few touchdowns. So the over-under, that I feel even less confident about the over-under than FAU plus 14.5, but I still would not bet money on that game. All right, Indiana, Kurt Cignetti, minus 23.5 against Old Dominion, over-under 54.5.
Yeah, The over under is quite high. I think Indiana covers the -24. I mean it's Old Dominion, but I don't know if the scoring is that high. I think Indiana's defense is going to be pretty solid again, but I don't, it's Fernando Mendoza, the former Cal quarterback. So, a lot of people are pretty high on him, but he, it's not like he did anything at Cal. So I'm not confident in him, putting up a ton of points in this first game as much. So I think I'd lean under, again, not super confidently, but I do think Indiana covers because I just don't think Old Dominion is putting up more than 10 points against Indiana for sure.
Just a quick note, our friend Archer Quick, loyal listener, viewer of the show, he mentions Kyron Hudson, 1 TD. He's referring to Penn State, Hudson transferring to Penn State. We wish Kyron Hudson well, so interesting note on that game. Do want to circle back. DeMeadowsable, thank you for your $5 super chat. Getting a little super chat action here, revving up our engines for the season, preparing for potential 2 or 3 hour shows in the coming weeks. So DeMeadowsable, thank you very much for your generous $5 contribution. And once again, like we don't want anyone to fork up, a C note, $100 the way Adam Lamparello did. I mean, we loved Adam Lamparello helping out myself and Tim Prangley last year, but that's not like the model we envision, right? It's just, a bunch of people donating $5-10, 20, 25 people donating a small amount of money. That's how everyone shares in the fun. Everyone shares in the responsibility. You're not giving up, a full Sunday dinner or your electric bill or anything, just $5-10, but everyone pitching in. That's what we love here on the USC channel at the Voice of College Football. All right, just a couple more left. Now, Purdue, week 3 opponent for USC. So, this is an interesting team to watch under new head coach Barry Odom. Purdue, 18.5-point favorite at home against Ball State. The over-under 50.5. Ethan.
I think I'm hammering the under, and I'm also reasonably expecting Ball State to cover. I just don't, again, Purdue was just so abysmal last year that predicting them to win big in any game or put up a bunch of points is just not something I'd at all be confident in. So yeah, for sure, not preaching no confidence in them on both of those fronts.
Yeah, I would just say let's see Purdue play at least a half before making any kind of conclusion about this team. So that's definitely a game I would stay away from because Barry Odom's a good coach, and Purdue might be good in November, but I don't think Purdue's going to be good in September. And of course, USC goes to West Lafayette in a few weeks. So that is a game worth paying attention to, definitely for USC fans. 5 years ago, we wouldn't have cared one bit about a Purdue Ball State game. But now that we're in the Big Ten, yeah, we actually kind of need to keep one eye on that one, see what happens. All right, final game. This is an interesting one. Northwestern at Tulane. Tulane favored by 5.5 with an over-under of 46.5. By the way, I'll ask you about your Northwestern pick. Just want to say, I'm hammering Indiana minus the 23.5. I think Mendoza is an actual upgrade at quarterback from Rourke last season, and I love Curt Cignetti. Indiana minus 23.5 might be my lock of all these plays on the board in Big Ten Week 1. So Indiana's my lock, and really Nebraska. If I could get 6.5 instead of 7 with Nebraska, I'd also view that as a lock. 7, a little bit less so. Or anyway, back to Northwestern Tulane. Tulane favored by 5.5 with the over/under of 46.5. Ethan.
This is a really fascinating game. I mean, with Jake Retzloff now the quarterback at Tulane, I think Tulane has a real chance to compete for a college football playoff berth this year, especially if Boise State stumbles in any way. I think that they have a real chance to lock up that 5th seed there with someone of Jake Retzloff's caliber at quarterback, obviously, and just the solid program that they've built around Jake Retzloff as well. So I think Tulane is the right pick to win. I'm really split on whether I think that they're going to cover, though. I think this could be, this could end up being a 3-point game just because, you know, Northwestern is going to come out with something to prove. You know, and it's not like, even though I think Tulane's going to be a college football playoff contender, it's not like they're even considered a top 25 team yet. So I just think I think the over under is at a good spot to where I could confidently pick the over, because I think each team will at least put up 20 points in this game. But Moneyline, not as confident in. I think it could end up being a 3-point game. So if I had to pick one, I'd pick Northwestern to cover, but I would stay away from the money line. I'd focus instead on the over under if you're looking to bet this game, and bet the over.
What this game comes down to for me is John Sumrall, the head coach of Tulane. He's really, really good. And Northwestern's had problems at quarterback and generally on offense the past few years. I don't think Northwestern can score enough to stay in this game. I feel really good about Tulane minus the 5.5. Less certain about the over/under, but I really do like Tulane at minus 5.5. Like, I think Tulane can win this game by a touchdown. I don't feel like that's a reach. I think that's more likely than not. So that's the kind of thing that you bet